This lesson shows how to graph linear inequalities. To graph a linear inequality, like y greater than or equal to 1/2 x minus 3, begin by graphing the boundary line y is equal to 1/2 x minus 3. If the inequality is greater than or equal to, or less than or equal to, graph a solid line to indicate that the graph includes the points on the boundary. On the other hand, if the inequality is just greater than or less than, graph a dashed or a dotted line to indicate that the graph does not include the points on the boundary. When the boundary line has been graphed, shade above the line if the inequality is greater than, and shade below the line if the inequality is less than. The shaded region of the graph indicates all the points that are a solution to the inequality. If the boundary line is steep, it can be difficult to decide which side of the line is above or below. For this example, the right side of the line is above the line, because if you choose a point on the right, you can go upwards without crossing the line. On the other hand, if you choose a point on the left and move upwards, you would eventually have to cross the line, since it is tilted slightly to the left. So, the left side of the line is below the line. Here is an example of an inequality with a boundary line at negative 3x plus 3. The region above the line is on the right, and the region below the line is on the left. For inequalities with horizontal boundary lines, the shading is pretty simple. For less than, shade below the line. For greater than, shade above the line. For vertical boundary lines, you shade to the right for greater than, and shade to the left for less than. Here is an example that shows all the steps for graphing and checking a linear inequality. First, you have to convert the inequality to slope-intercept form. Begin by subtracting x from both sides. Then, divide both sides by -2. Remember, when you divide both sides of an inequality by a negative number, you have to switch the direction of the inequality. On the right side, when you divide -x by -2, you get positive 1/2 x. When you divide -2 by -2, you get positive 1. And the result is y greater than or equal to 1/2 x plus 1. In the next step, you graph the boundary line y equals 1/2 x plus 1. And then, since the inequality is greater than, shade above the line. Now, do a boundary check. This verifies that you have correctly graphed the boundary line. Select a point on the line, like 2, 2. Change the inequality to an equation and substitute x equal to y equal to. Simplify the expression, and you can see that the boundary checks. Finally, do an inequality check. This verifies that the direction of the inequality is correct. Select a convenient point in the shaded region, like 0, 2. Substitute x equals 0, y equals 2 into the inequality, and simplify. You get -4 is less than -2, and the inequality checks.